So, the race card finally declined and they're swiping the gender card because males want to be the ultimate protected class and a victim of everyone. I want to talk about male-worshipping Black women and their fake outrage about feminism tearing apart their family, which is a lie. This is why I love when the males they worship turn around and spit in their faces. As an extension of my last video about incorrectly stating Black people have a culture issue, because it's just a new form of blaming external factors on internal issues that existed before that culture. So, some Black woman apparently thought I was some self-hating Republican because I don't like liberals and left a comment saying she's tired of Black women being man-hating feminists. I don't think so. Black women hate their own gender. Some of them are literally morphing into the males they worship. In what world is this considered man-hating? They coddle their sons, and both left and right-wing Black women do not hold them accountable and keep creating new systems or entities to blame their behavior on. Blaming feminism and using that term as a catch-all scapegoat is intellectually lazy and avoidance of the truth. And low IQ people who don't look at past surface level have no comprehension for what's going on. They don't understand the problems, so they can't create solutions. I expect the term feminism to be misused by males, but Black women should be ashamed of themselves for also doing that. Black women all over the world with different cultures have similar issues and complaints because of the males they're living next to. First off, stop pushing the white community's problems onto Black women. Black women have never and will never be a part of that community. White men's complaints about feminism is totally different than anything Black people have going on, even though people try to pretend it's the same. Because Black women and white women are not the same, don't have the same issues or history. Second, stop repeating things you hear on the internet and do your own research. Because at this point, people are not calling actual feminist first wave or third wave feminist, and you're not even using that term correctly. Grown people around the internet are always misusing words on purpose because it's a buzzword to them and trying to turn political terms into catch-all words with no real meaning anymore. White males created feminism in America for the same reason why they created the model minority myth and accidentally uplifted Asians above their own race's intelligence by calling them geniuses. They were initially intended to be against Black people. They wanted white women in the workforce to pay bills and take up civil rights resources meant for Black people, so they thought all the resources would go right back to the white race, which it mostly did. The civil rights movement benefited Black women the least. So obviously white males didn't see white women's power grab coming. Now they're online blaming Black women, feminism, politics, or anything else for their own community's issues. When Asians take over tech and the rest of the world, they'll have the same problems they have with white women. They gave people the power they're complaining about people having, and I wouldn't really care but have to speak on it since Black women are dragged into it. It's disturbing and hypocritical to portray Black women looking out for their own interest as attacking someone else, or as she put it, being man-hating. Again, especially because the issues Black people have today already existed before feminism, welfare, or whatever else y'all are blaming your ignorant behavior on. Black women were never stay-at-home mothers who suddenly woke up and decided they hate their perfect husbands and they want to go march in the streets for shits and giggles. Feminism was attached to civil rights, which was racial, not gendered. If you want to portray someone having a movement as them being hateful, then maybe white people should go back in time and fight Black people marching for civil rights because according to her, they would just be defending themselves from attackers. Why did Black women go to marches with other races of women? Well, after their male counterparts actively fought against their right to vote, despite Black women having more reason to vote than them because of lack of criminal activity and working more. Women like Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman realized they can't be supported by their own race and were forced to go advocate on their own behalf. I like to pick and choose when to separate Black women from white women in America, especially for Black women that are already deceased and aren't alive to correct people or defend themselves. Most Black women are not on welfare, but were propped up by propaganda as welfare queens, because people simply do not want to see white women as lazy for now living off alimony, welfare, and comfy affirmative action careers positions. Majority of Black women have historically raised their children alone, even if they were legally married. Their husbands either abandoned them, went to war, or went to prison. For the Black women that were on welfare, most of their money and food went to the greedy males in their household because, again, they were not kicked out of the home, and some mammies even went as far as pretending to live alone and hiding evidence that a male was there just to get more welfare to feed the grown male that was not providing for her. So the mammy will say, but he's the victim of white males dominating him and taking away his job opportunities. He shouldn't be held to any standard or have any responsibilities to provide. If he can be the victim of white supremacy, then why are you not also a victim? Because you're not being portrayed as a victim, you're being portrayed as the villain, even more so than the white male who redlined and apparently took away job opportunities. Are you not also Black? Were Black women not also victims of racism after slavery and during Jim Crow? If we're being serious, I think a lot of these people would simply be happier if Black women and their children simply starved just so they can say they didn't get any welfare back in the day. Because for some reason, these people are really clinging onto welfare to ignore the truth and everything else going on in their community. Your son is a terrorist, either shooting up a neighborhood or online trying to portray the shooter as either the victim of a white male or a Black woman, to ultimately never really be held accountable. White women were stay-at-home mothers who mostly never worked. Black women had jobs, and people's definition of traditional woman did not apply to Black women. Even Black women who did not work the usual jobs or domestic help or sharecropping did side hustles or something selling soul food. The entire history of America, Black women have been working and doing things you people are claiming is masculine protecting and providing behavior. They were not at home, twirling their hair staring at the walls. Black women who repeat the talking points of people with agendas seem to be lacking brain cells and haven't read basic history of their own people. Do these people know American history, and do they know the arguments white males used for their own sovereignty from Great Britain? Conservative Black women who blindly repeat what they hear online are just as slow as liberal Black women. Or they need to explain to me how Black women who are more employed than Black males most of the time, and were working probably just as much as white males, also would not say they want the right to vote because they were the head of their household and paying taxes. Before, during, and after feminism. Some of these people are so ignorant, maybe they should have their right to vote revoked. This is also the effect of self-hating Black losers constantly trying to pretend race is not an issue for anyone and blur the lines between them and white people. With their fake, we're all Americans and have the same issues foolishness, but won't hesitate to say Black women are a problem with their full chest and go to Africa if you don't want to kiss the government's and country's ass. But honestly, white women are always copying after Black women, and because of that, whatever issues white males have with them, Black women in America will probably be blamed for most of it. There's thousands of white dudes screaming all over the internet about white women being strong and independent, and I've never even heard a white woman say that unironically, so where else did white males get that phrase from? So some of them are just going to rant about Black women under the impression that Black women are a negative influence on white women. Perfect example how ignorant Black women are when they listen to the males of their community, because these women are repeating this to cater to them. This is why every Black majority country is a hellhole, and Black women are the idiots for allowing it to happen. Since you want to be led so bad, you'll be led straight off the cliff. For these hooligans to suggest that Black women should never advocate for themselves politically, and then to further suggest that advocating for your own agency and protection against abuse is an attack on males, is so unserious and disrespectful to the suffering of Black women. Do not speak on the Constitution and in the same breath deny Black women the rights you claim to care about. Black women who aren't liberal keep talking about Black women as if they aren't a part of the same demographic. I'm not sure if this is mental illness or some form of mental dysmorphia, where they don't see themselves for who they are. They seem to not realize they will also be affected by whatever they say. Calling themselves proud Americans and claiming to love the Constitution and freedom while advocating against independence of Americans who happen to be Black women and actively rewriting and ignoring American history. Some white males are coming for your right to vote as a woman, so that's for you to deal with. Clearly, there should have been a history quiz or IQ test before any people were allowed to vote and impact America. But it's already too late, the country is unfixable. And suddenly proclaiming that you're conservative and blindly voting just like you did for liberals is not going to help you. Black women did not kick anyone out of their homes, but they should have. At least then, they could have avoided things like drugs being sold into their homes. Criminals wouldn't have a place to sleep at night, and many other reasons why you don't want destructive males near you. Black women with common sense should be concerned with the amount of blatant lies and misinformation everyone is happily willing to repeat and spread at their expense. And the fact that these lies and narratives are allowed to fly freely for decades only further proves my point about the lack of what people claim is feminism and man-hating behavior.